got stable trait, and the trait inherits expression of several generations. So the Mendel selected 14 true breeding pea plants varieties as pair with a simple exception of one character with contrasting trait. These are selected for smooth and the wrinkled seed, yellow garden seed, smooth inflated pod, green or yellow pod, tall and the dwarf plant. So this one is this being gist of the Mendelian work. So students, next one we are showing you contrasting traits studied by the Mendelian plants. The stem height is tall and dwarf, flower color is violet and white, the flower position axial terminal, pod shape inflated, the constricted, pod color green and yellow, seed shape is round and wrinkled, seed color is yellow and green. We have to memorize the points. These are very important for understanding the concept in the subsequent stages. Now the question is coming, inheritance of one gene. So there is a hybridization experiment was taken. In the first filial generation, progeny collected seeds produced on a result of the cross, grew them to generate plants of a first hybrid generation. This is called F1. Here you see the steps to making a cross in the emasculation is going on. But from the experiment, what did we observe? F1 progeny plants was tall like one of the parents, none was dwarf. You see the pictorial representation, it has been clearly depicting. Similar observations found in other pair of traits, found that F1 always resembled either of the two parents, that the trait of other parent was not seen in them. So you see the diagrammatic representation of the experiment. So we are coming back to self-pollination again to elaborate discussion. It is too interesting basics of genetics. The self-pollinated tall F1 plant are to be the surprise found that F2 generation some of the offsprings were dwarf. The character that we had not seen in the F1 generation was not now expressed. The proportion of plant dwarf 1/4 of the F2 plant as well as the 1/3 of the F2 plants was tall. So the tall and dwarf trait were identical. See the picture, it has been given. Tall and dwarf trait identical to their parents also. And the similar in results were obtained from other traits studied. One of the parental traits expressed in F1, F2 stage both the traits are expressed in proportion 3:1. Contrasting trait did not show any blending of either F1 or F2 stage. So what is the outcome of the experiment? First time he introduced, based on this observation, Mendel proposed that concept of factor. What is factor? You see the pictorial representation of the factor and gene now. The something was being stably passed down unchanged from parent to offspring through the gametes over successive generation. We call them as a factor. We call them as a gene. So what are the genes and the alleles now? Genes therefore as the unit for the inheritance, they contain the information required to express particular trait. Now come to the allele. Gene which code for a pair of contrasting traits known as allele, that is slightly different forms of the same gene. If we use the alphabetical symbol from each gene, capital letter used for trait expressed at the F1 stage and small alphabet from the other trait. For examples, in case of the character of height, T is used for tall, small t for dwarf, T, and ultimately the concept of homozygous came. That is the homozygous concept. If you would like to explain, we propose that in a true breeding, tall or dwarf P varieties of a allelic pair of gametes, height is identical, genotype, the capital T, small t, genotype, tall and dwarfs are the phenotype. Next question came dominance and recessive. This phenotype of F1, capital T, small t is exactly like the capital T, tall plant. In appearance, he says a pair of dissimilar factors. One dominates the other, hence is called the dominant factor. Other is said to be the recessive. In the case of the capital T tallness and the dominant over small t dwarfness, he observed identical behavior for all the other type of the vectors. What you would like to be the phenotype of the plant, that of the capital T small t. So now the concept of the homozygous and the heterozygous came. Alleles can be similar in the case of the homozygote, capital T, small t, dissimilar in case of heterozygote, small t. Then the concept came of the monohybrid cross, which I have already would like to express. We are discussing cross between individuals having single pair of contrasting characters. So here is the picture of the Punnett square. Observation is there, what did he observe? The recessive parent trait expressed without any blending in F1 generation, F2 generation, ultimately allele of parents are separate or segregate from each other. So now the concept of segregation of the alleles came. The segregation of allele in a random process, 50% chance of the gamete containing either allele. In this way, the gametes of tall capital T plant have the allele, capital T, gametes of dwarf, small t, small t. So during the fertilization, what happened? The two alleles T for one parent, say, though the pollen small t from other parent to the eggs unite to produce zygote, one T, another small t. So next question coming, heterozygous parent. In the other words, hybrid has capital T, small t. Hybrids contain alleles which express contrasting traits. Plant is heterozygous. So how do we explain it? Through Punnett square. What is the Punnett square? It is developed by the British scientist R.C. Punnett, and the possible gametes are written on the two sides, and ultimately usually the top row and left column. All possible combinations are represented in boxes below the square which generate square output. So let us discuss about the Punnett square. So ultimately shows the parental tall capital T male, dwarfs capital T small t female plant, gametes produced by them F1 capital T small t, and the F1 plants genotype capital T small t self-pollinating. So ultimately the F1 plants of a genotype in which the self-pollinated produce these gametes genotype capital T and small t in equal proportion. So the Punnett square shows, and the pollen grains also there, and the